Most fascinating single fact about this real story. Charles Manson, often perceived as a mere cult leader, was deeply intertwined with the music industry, particularly through his connections with the Beach Boys. This unexpected connection reveals how a man known for orchestrating gruesome murders once sought fame and recognition as a musician. Helter Skelter movie introduced millions of people to this incredible true story. But the real events were even more extraordinary than anything the show could portray. Today, we uncover the chilling truth behind Manson's life, his cult, and the shocking crimes that shook America. The Helter Skelter movie, which premiered in 1976, captivated audiences with its dramatization of the infamous Tate LaBianca murders. This chilling portrayal brought the dark narrative of Charles Manson and his followers into the homes of millions, sparking fascination and horror alike. The film was more than just a retelling of horrific events. It was a reflection of a society grappling with the chaos of the 1960s counterculture movement. By depicting Manson's manipulative hold over his followers and the brutal killings they committed, the show shed light on the complexities of human psychology and the darker sides of the American dream. Audiences were drawn to the film not only for its suspenseful storytelling, but also for its exploration of themes like violence, loyalty, and betrayal. While millions were enthralled by the dramatization, the real story that inspired it is even more incredible. Manson's life was marked by a series of unsettling events, from his troubled childhood to his eventual rise as a cult leader. The cultural backdrop of the 1960s, a time of social upheaval and experimentation, set the stage for Manson's rise. In the series, the chilling atmosphere of fear and manipulation was portrayed with haunting accuracy. But the true narrative is layered with even more shocking details that reveal how a man could influence others to commit violence in his name. Charles Manson was born on November 12, 1934, in Cincinnati, Ohio. His early life is riddled with instability. His mother, a teenage runaway, was often absent, leaving him to fend for himself. By age 5, he was living with relatives, and by 9, he was placed in a school for delinquent boys. Manson spent much of his youth in correctional institutions, a precursor to the life he would later lead outside of them. He was first incarcerated at the tender age of 16 for theft. This early experience in the system would shape his worldview and his subsequent actions. In the 1950s, Manson became increasingly interested in music, believing it to be his ticket to fame. His dreams led him to Los Angeles, where he sought connections in the burgeoning music scene. Manson's big break came when he met Dennis Wilson, the drummer of the Beach Boys. Wilson invited Manson and some of his followers to stay at his home, unaware of the darkness that lurked behind Manson's facade. During this time, Manson recorded a song titled "Cease to Exist," which the Beach Boys later adapted into "Never Learn Not to Love," without crediting him. This incident fueled Manson's resentment and desire for recognition. By the late 1960s, Manson had formed a group known as the Manson family, a cult-like collective of followers who believed in his twisted ideologies. Manson began to preach a philosophy that he named Helter Skelter, drawing inspiration from a Beatles song. He believed that an apocalyptic race war was imminent and that his followers needed to prepare for it by committing violent acts. The phrase Helter Skelter became synonymous with the chaos and violence he incited. On August 8, 1969, Manson directed his followers to commit what would become one of the most infamous crimes in American history. They brutally murdered actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, along with 4 others at her home in Los Angeles. The following night, they struck again, killing Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. These murders shocked the nation and marked a turning point in public perception of the counterculture movement. The brutality of the crimes was surreal, and the media frenzy that followed painted Manson as the face of evil in America. During the trial, Manson's defense was perplexing. He claimed he did not order the murders, even though the prosecution argued that he orchestrated the horrific events. The trial itself became a spectacle, with Manson and his followers displaying their devotion to him, even in court. Manson's influence over his followers was profound, showcasing how psychological manipulation can lead individuals to commit unspeakable acts in the name of a leader. The events surrounding the Tate LaBianca murders were not just random acts of violence, they were a culmination of Manson's twisted ideology and the societal tensions of the time. The film captured the chaotic lifestyle of the Manson family, depicting how they lived in a constant state of rebellion against societal norms. The chilling scenes of the murders depicted in the film were grounded in the actual events that shocked the nation, bringing the horror of Manson's actions to the forefront of public consciousness. However, the true story behind Manson and his actions is filled with even more shocking revelations. Manson believed that the Beatles' music contained coded messages that guided his ideology and actions. His fixation on their lyrics demonstrated a delusional interpretation of reality, as he sought to align his beliefs with what he perceived as prophetic messages. This strange connection to music, particularly to a band that symbolized a cultural revolution, adds another layer of complexity to Manson's character that the show could only hint at. Despite the film's gripping portrayal, it couldn't fully capture how Manson's life before the murders shaped his twisted worldview. He spent more than half of his life in correctional institutions, and this history of incarceration contributed to his warped perception of power and control. The influence of his early experiences in the system cannot be overstated. They played a critical role in molding him into the person who would later orchestrate horrific acts. Additionally, Manson's followers were not just mindless drones. They were individuals who believed in his vision, many of whom came from troubled backgrounds themselves. The film reflects the real-life dynamics of the Manson family, showcasing how Manson exploited their vulnerabilities to gain unwavering loyalty. The tragic reality is that these individuals were often seeking love, acceptance, and a sense of belonging, which Manson preyed upon. In Helter Skelter movie, they showed Manson as a charismatic figure, drawing people into his orbit. He was a man whose life was marked by trauma and a desperate need for validation. The film dramatized the ending for emotional impact, but the real events were less cinematic, yet equally powerful. The aftermath of the murders left a permanent scar on American society, forever altering perceptions of the counterculture movement. After the events depicted in the film, Manson spent the rest of his life behind bars. He was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder for his role in the killings. Manson was sentenced to death, but his sentence was later commuted to life in prison after California abolished the death penalty in 1972. He spent his remaining years in prison, where he continued to attract attention, ultimately dying from complications related to colon cancer on November 19, 2017. The impact of Charles Manson's life and crimes continues to resonate. His story serves as a cautionary tale about the darker aspects of human nature and the potential for manipulation. While the film captured the chilling essence of Manson's influence, the real events behind his life are even more complex and layered. As we reflect on this extraordinary narrative, one question lingers: how do we recognize the signs of manipulation and cult-like behavior in our own lives? Follow Dark Crime Decoded for more real stories behind your favorite crime series.